Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to be going over Angel of Death. She's a hero that the game gives you fairly early on, and she's a fantastic hero. She's capable of a lot of different things. She's really good across the board pretty much, and I think she might be getting overlooked a little bit. I think people are getting hung up trying to reroll for that Lich King and that Spider Queen, and I think sometimes you're re-rolling really good Nat 5s trying to get that farmer. Because maybe you're not seeing Angel of Death as being capable of that. You know, maybe you're screwing up and re-rolling someone like an Elven Queen or someone who's really good, but you're just so focused on the farmer. Maybe you don't know Angel of Death can be your farmer and do other things for you. So we're going to talk about her a little bit. Now, as you can see, my stats here, they are not that crazy. I have gone 5-star runes across the board. Everything I put on her, you can farm relatively easy. And she's not super fast. Her attack is not super high. I've got crit rate slot 4. We're going to talk about her runes in a minute. She's not that impressive looking, and she's still very solid. She's still very capable of a lot of things. So let's go over her entire skill tree and talk about what she has and where what would be useful. First skill, Swing a Giant Scythe, 370% of attack and damage. Skill deals critical damage. If it crits, then you have a chance to land a heal block. Now, this is what I was saying about her being particularly useful in the Magic Mark dungeon, because in there, that dragon has a passive where when he gets knocked below 50%, he procs a counter, hits everybody, and heals himself. He has a drain effect. It can be very hard. You can get stuck in this loop where he just keeps counterattacking as you keep knocking him below 50 and healing himself back up. And then if he kills, he's going to get another turn, and it just gets out of hand. I've seen it get out of hand quite a bit on my way up. It can be very aggravating. So getting the crit rate on her so that she'll crit and having the hit on her so that she can land that heal block really helps out in those dungeons. I don't know what's going on inside of me right now. I feel like everything in me is about to explode. So bear with me as I work this out while I'm talking. But it's very helpful. It's going to make those dungeons much, much easier, the Magic Mark dungeon. So great first skill, very useful. One of her second skills is attacks one enemy twice, 40% chance to defense break and slow them for 2 turns. Now this is really nice because again it hits twice, and if the first skill defense breaks, the second skill is going to hit a lot harder. If she doesn't get a kill here, she can leave them defense broken and with a slow. Pretty nice skill, can kind of set herself up to do more damage there, and pretty good second skill. And then here we have attacks 2 times at random. Each attack deals 70% attack. It's an attack break, and it will prioritize attacking 2 different targets. And so you've got a potential to drop attack break on 2 different targets. This is not a bad skill. I prefer Cutlass Dance, honestly. I think it is the better skill, especially for the way that you're going to be using her. I think this is probably the way to go. And then on our A3, we have passives. We have receive a bonus turn after killing an enemy, which is very nice for farming, can be very nice for wave clearing in the dungeons, can be very nice in PvP. She can run through a whole team by herself if she's strong enough. It's a very strong passive, and it is probably the one you're going to want to go with for a while with her. Another one she's got that's nice is has a 10% drain effect on all of her attacks. At the end of her own turn, 70% chance to steal 8% of all enemies' energy. This can be, again, pretty nice in arena, anywhere where there's not bosses where you can affect the turn meter. This is decent. This is a decent little passive. Lets her heal based on damage, turn meter steal. Pretty handy. And then the last one, Toughness, is a state of mind. When taking critical damage, 70% chance to reduce the damage taken pretty heavily. So this is one that you could use, but again, it's a little bit more situational. If you wanted to try to use this one in the dungeons, if you're not really concerned with her ability to wave clear, this could help her take hits from the bosses better. This could be a little bit of a problem in PvP. You know, that huge damage reduction could make her harder to take out of the fight, which means she's more likely to get on a roll and start taking people out. So it's a pretty good passive. So really, there's not a lot wrong here. You could do a lot of things that you wanted to do. For farming, for earlier game, for dungeons, I'm going to recommend going with what I have here. And then, of course, she's got her own. She buffs crit rate by 19% with her leader skill. So this can be pretty helpful, too, especially early on when you might be struggling to find the stats, okay? Really solid kit all around, though. Let's talk about runes now. As you can see, I've gone with an attack wild set. You can go full attack if you can hit the stats that way. I decided to put the wild set on her. I did max out a slot for crit rate rune because I wanted her crit rate to be bumped up a bit. But other than that, we've just gone attack, crit rate, and attack. Now, I went crit rate. I'm not focusing crit damage that heavily right now. I just want her to have the crit rate, right? I want her to crit so that she has a chance to land the HP block. I want her to crit because that will amplify her damage even if I'm not focusing crit rate. Now, as you get later into the game, you are going to want to start to stack crit rate and crit damage on top of the attack because you want to shoot that damage way up. But earlier on, just having her critting reliably will still be a decent bump, right? She's still got 50% base crit damage, and then whatever you happen to find through your substats, that's still a pretty significant bump in damage, even if you're not hard focusing the crit damage, okay? Now, the hit on mine is a little bit low. If you wanted to go crit rate slot 4 and instead go with a focus set to try to get the hit up, if you're really trying to use her in the Magic Mark dungeon for the HP block, or you're wanting her to land those defense breaks and slows, hit would be pretty nice to have. So a focus is going to be a pretty good secondary set. But I'll say for a while, you're going to at least want to have 4 pieces of attack gear on her. That bump in attack is going to be pretty nice, and the game is going to give you some attack gear fairly early on. But again, you can see most of these runes you can get from the mid level of the dungeons. None of these runes are really that crazy. They're all 5-star. I didn't put any 6-star runes on her. It's all pretty obtainable, right? You can get your hands on most of them. I mean, that's a common rune, rare, couple of heroics. So it's not that bad. Mid-tier levels of the dungeons, these can drop for you eventually. And again, the game is going to give you a pretty decent set of attack gear as well. So just throw that on her and start to scale her up. Now, I have mine 6-starred. I have her evolved. I don't have her at 40 yet, so I have not sanctified her. However, we can take a look at the sanctify skills. Now, if you'll notice, when you look at these, one row's kind of dedicated to HP, another row's dedicated to attack, another row's dedicated to defense. I'm saying row, I mean column. A column is HP, this column is attack, this column is defense, and here we've got hit and resistance type stuff, okay? So for her, you're probably going to want to be focusing on the second column. Now, shield is nice. It's a bump to the base attack, and she'll deal more damage to enemies with shields. This could be pretty nice in PvP. Fearless is probably the one I'm going to recommend that you go with. This way, she'll never be at a disadvantage. She's always going to do the damage she would do. She won't take a penalty for attacking someone who has strong affinity advantage over her, okay? This makes her good everywhere. She'll be a little weaker, of course. She'll take a little more damage when being attacked by someone stronger, but she won't suffer. And really what you're trying to get out of her is damage. You're not really setting her up to take a bunch of hits, right? Here we've got Scorn. Scorn is okay. It certainly has its situational uses, but for what you're going to be using Angel of Death for, I don't think this is going to work too well on her, at least in the earlier game. You're wanting her to one-shot enemies. You're not wanting her... If someone has less than 50% HP and she's not one-shotting them, she needs to be stronger anyway, okay? So she doesn't really need a damage boost for that. Restraint... Increase crit damage when attacking an enemy that is unable to perform actions. Again, this is going to be pretty specific. This is when you pair with someone who's got a freeze, a stun, a sleep, something along those lines. A petrify, something that locks an enemy down. Again, very situational, not what you're really going to be looking for in general. And then Brave increases attack damage by 15%, increases crit damage by 0.5% for every 1% HP lost. Now this is a pretty nice one too, especially earlier on if you're struggling to get her to one shot and she is going to be taking some hits. The more damage she takes, the more damage she'll output if she's critting. This can be good situationally as well. I would recommend going with Fearless on her. I think that's going to be the way to go. Makes her strong across the board. And increases her base attack also. So it's a solid one. It is what I'll be putting on her when I finish her. I just haven't gotten her to 40 yet. So let's take a look now at her ability to farm. Blackpool Hills 1. We're just going to run her by herself with her own crit rate lead and see how she does. If she can do this, she can certainly farm with food, right? So let's see how she's looking. Like I said, she's not really going to have much trouble here. It's neutral affinity, so she is going to be fine with the amount of crit rate that she has. And with her crit rate lead, I think it puts her, if not at 100th and close. I don't remember exactly what her crit rate is. But usually she will not target the boss here and will be okay. She targeted the boss there before the other guys were dead. She usually makes a little bit better decisions than that, but I think we're still going to be okay. I think she's still going to be able to pull this off. And again, she's not 40 and she's not sanctified. when she hits 40 and she gets sanctified, she's going to be very solid for this. She's going to be really, really solid for this. But again, incomplete stats are not that crazy, okay? Stats are really not that crazy. If you're looking at that, and that was on Hill, so it'll be much easier to get her to do this on hard, but you can see she's not that insane, and she's able to farm Hill reliably by herself. I know that run looked a little sketchy, but she usually makes better decisions than that, and she's not max level or sanctified yet. So excellent champ. Again, pretty much good in all content. She can be your carry for a while, so don't sleep on her. Don't re-roll some quality Nat 5s. You know, Dragoon, Elven Queen. I've heard of people re-rolling Medusas. There are some quality Nat 5s people are pulling and thinking they need to re-roll because they think they have to have that Lich King or Spider Queen. That is not the case. She is definitely capable of farming without insane gear. Without even being max level and sanctified, she is capable of quite a bit. She's going to be a really good champ for you to use for a good long while. I'm going to continue to use her. I'm going to put together some more free-to-play style teams to run with her in the dungeons to show you she's going to be a solid champ. She can be your carry for a while, even if you're free-to-play. She's going to be fantastic. So hopefully this was helpful. If you're wondering how I'm playing this on PC, I'm going to drop a link in the description where you can download BlueStacks. That's how I'm playing these mobile games on PC. If you want to hop in the Discord and ask us questions, we've got a really helpful group over there. There's a link for that in the description as well. I stream over at twitch.tv/JGigs, 6 p.m. Eastern most weeknights. You can come over there and catch us there, ask us questions. We are always happy to help. If you don't want to do any of that, just hit me up in the comments, and I'll do what I can to help you out here too. I appreciate you watching. If it was helpful, like, subscribe, all the fun stuff that really helps me out. And I'll see you guys later.